This is TF3778. It hasn't run in over 29 years. Let's fire it up. Before we get started today, let me tell you something about my videos. I don't pre-produce these. I don't plan them out very well. I mean, I shoot them with my iPhone, okay? So if there's any bumps or mishaps along the way, we're going to experience them together for the first time. And we'll see how I fix them, maybe, or don't. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about the TF. I bought this car more than 5 years ago. I've been working on the restoration for a long time. The engine I rebuilt, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, and it's never run. And I can't tell you about the machine work to the cylinder head or the block, or I think the pistons are 40 over, but then again, half the time I don't remember why I walked into the kitchen, so, you know, don't quote me. Anyway, let's see if it's gonna run. Everything looks so clean and shiny. Well, that's basically because it's new. The carburetors are rebuilt. The radiator is new. Speaking of the radiator, let's go back 5 years ago to a little video I shot when I was taking the engine apart. We are going to try to get the radiator out here. Look at, that's the water pump. I'm sorry, the thermostat. The thermostat's in here. This is the gooseneck. There's a little bit of stuff in there. Ooh, that's crusty. I hope that gives you some idea of the condition of the car when I first got it. Well, today we're going to try to start it. Now we need 4 things to start this engine. We need fuel, we need compression, we need ignition. You know what the 4th one is? We need oil pressure. In the pursuit of oil pressure in our little X-Pag here, what I'm going to do is take out the spark plugs, spin the engine, and see if we can build up any oil pressure as shown on the gauge. Now, just in case the gauge doesn't work, because I have no idea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the air cleaners and take off the valve cover. Oops. Well, let's crank it over and see if we get any oil pressure. Well, that's not a good thing. So here's my plan. Here's the oil pump on the side of the engine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this plug and put oil in the oil pump. Prime the pump, so to speak. Let's fill it up. I'm using a 2050 oil. What I'm going to do is take off this nut, which I use to fill the filter, and turn the starter. See if oil comes out. Okay, now we're going to try the 3rd plug up here. So I've been cranking on this forever. Put oil in the pump, filled up the filter, the car, turned the back wheel back, and nothing's happening. So I think I've got a problem. Somebody forgot to pack the oil pump in Vaseline before assembling the engine. I have to pack that oil pump in Vaseline and see if it'll create enough suction to draw the oil out of the pan. Before I can pack the oil pump in Vaseline, I'm going to need some Vaseline. And when my ex-wife left, she took her 55-gallon drum of Vaseline with her. Fortunately, I was able to sneak this handy travel size of Vaseline out of her luggage while she was going through the sofa looking for change. Okay, there you can see is my oil pump packed in Vaseline. Now we'll put the cover on, hook it back up, and see what happens. How's my hair?
Hair looks great.
Good. Okay, let's review. Okay, so what we did is we took the cover of the oil pump off. We packed the impellers or gears with Vaseline. We put the cover back. We put the two plugs back. I filled the oil can with oil, the oil filter with oil. Put the plugs back. I guess now we're ready to try it. I do have the oil pressure hose disconnected, so that should be the first place we see oil. Oh, and we also took the motor mount off, took the radiator hose off, jacked up the engine so I could get the bolts off, to get the water pump off, to pack the impellers in Vaseline, etc., etc., etc. Go ahead and hit it. No oil pressure. No oil pressure. No pressure. Well, after cranking and cranking and cranking and cranking and Vaselining and turning the wheel backwards and doing all of this other stuff, and still no oil, I removed the entire oil pump. Yeah, I took the motor mount off again, blah, blah, blah. Let me show you what I found. Let's go to the bench. Okay, let's see if I can explain this. This is the way the gasket was on the oil pump. This hole right here is partially blocked. You can see where the mating part was. This large hole here, if I can move this out of the way, you can see how big that hole is. Is my finger in the way? Yeah, probably. Anyway, this large hole is also not lined up. So watch this. Take the gasket off and we flip it over and we put it back on, and this hole lines up perfectly, as do the bolt holes. This hole in the hole in the gasket should be bigger, so we're going to cut that hole a little bit larger. Okay, over here on the mating part, if you can see, this is the way the gasket was on the mating part. This hole right here is blocked, so we're going to punch that hole through. I have a pretty good feeling that this is why my oil passages were blocked. We'll clean up these gaskets, put it back together, and try her again. Well, we're going to give it another try here, and you know I'm feeling optimistic because I'm using a dirty rag to try to catch any oil that may come out. Here we go. Was that a squirt? It was. Oh my goodness. Look at this. I have oil on my new car. Oh my. Well, that makes me happy. One footnote, there's also oil coming out of the camshaft. You can see the little puddles. Okay, let's take a compression test. Let's see what we get for compression. That looks pretty good. Well, we had about 185 on piston number 1. Let's see what we get on piston number 2. That looks like about 190. Let's take a look. That's a little over 200. Oh, I'm sorry, a little over 190. We'll try piston number 4. Am I reading this right? 180, 190. Well, piston number 4 sure has a lot of wallop. Okay, we're going to try piston number 1 again. That's better. Well, in case you weren't keeping score, piston number 1 was 190, piston number 2 was 190 a little bit more, piston number 3, 190 a little bit more, piston number 4 came in at about pushing 200. So I think we have good enough compression to start this engine. I think I'm gonna have to run premium. Okay, we've got 2 out of the 4. We have oil pressure, yay, and we have compression. Now, let's see if we have ignition. We have to make sure the spark fires number 1 spark plug at the right time. So I'm gonna set the timing statically. First thing I'm gonna do is get the crankshaft to top dead center. Okay, I can't get a wrench in there to turn the crankshaft to rotate it to top dead center, so I'm gonna put a wrench on the generator. Okay, I rotated the crankshaft, and you can see there's the pointer on the timing chain cover, and there's the timing marks. We are at top dead center. The other thing I have to watch for when I line up the timing marks is that both 1 and 2 valves are closed. That means the piston is on the ignition stroke, not the exhaust stroke. So basically, line up the timing marks, the valve's closed. Okay, the piston is in the right place. The crankshaft, the camshaft theoretically are in the right place. I'm going to use my little bulb tester here, hooking up that to ground, turning on the ignition, click, and then touching the probe to the wire going to the distributor. As you can see, it's not lit. What I want to do is rotate the distributor in the direction or opposite the direction of rotor rotation. The rotor turns this way. I'm going to turn the body of the distributor this way until the light lights. Right there. Bip. The light is lit. That means the points are opening. That means the charge in the coil is going to go to the spark plug. Which spark plug? With the distributor body in the proper orientation, we're going to take this old distributor cap, put it in place, looking where the rotor is pointing. It's pointing right about here. I put the cap on. That's going to make this my number 1 plug. So 1 counterclockwise rotation, 3, 4, 2's on vacation. 1, 3, 4, 2. Timing is set. We have compression, we have oil pressure, and hopefully the spark's going to arrive at the party at the right time. Now, let's see if there's going to be fuel there to greet it. Okay? In assembling this car, I have the wire disconnected from the fuel pump. So I'm going to hook up the wire, turn on the key, and see if we get fuel in the fuel filter. Hopefully, that'll fill up and we won't get overflow from the floats. There's fuel in the tank. The fuel pump is hooked up. Let's see if we can get fuel to the carburetors. Tick tock. Who put coffee in my gas tank? Let's go to the replay in slow motion. I thought this was going to be a short video. The fuel lines and the gas tank have been flushed out. Let's put it back together and see what happens. So I've installed the fuel lines. Everything is nice and clean. Let's fire up the fuel pump and see if we get gasoline or chocolate milk. Here we go. Hopefully we'll get something. Oh, that looks like gasoline.
Doesn't look like much gasoline, but it's not chocolate milk.
We have oil pressure, we have ignition, we have compression, and we have fuel. That does not look like chocolate milk. So I think we're ready to hit the starter and see if it's going to start. Oh, my daughter wanted me to ask you that if you like the video, please subscribe, because she said I need more subscribers. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to run the carburetors. My trusty assistant is going to run the starter. Let's hit the starter and see what happens. Or turn the key on. Okay, go ahead. Again. Well, how about that, huh? Oh, I forgot to mention. This is important. Today is March 4th, 2023. This car came off the assembly line on March 4th, 1954. Today is her 69th birthday. So, we'll bring her back to life. Hit it again. Unbelievable. They built it really good in 1954, huh? I can't look at it. It's even idling. I'll try giving it some show. Okay, I'm going to ask my trusty assistant to look for leaks on that side. I'm going to look for leaks on this side. I'm getting misty, okay? The floor is dry, the engine is dry. For the first time on her birthday in 69 years, this car is running. We have oil pressure, I hope? 50 pounds of oil pressure at idle on a new engine. I'm gonna call this good for now, and I got to drain the oil and get the Vaseline out, put some fresh oil and a new filter in. But one more time. $4,500 RPM. The tachometer works. Go figure. Okay, turn off the key. Let's see if it'll stop. I'm amazed, truly amazed. The engine has been off now for about a half hour, and let's see what happens. Key on. It's running again! Happy birthday, old girl! Happy 69! The engine runs. The heart of 3778 is beating again. I put some sheet metal on, and we have to do an oil change yet, put the headlight buckets in, and a whole interior. If there's anything you'd like to see videos of in the assembly process, drop me a message and let me know. I'll see you next time on Robert's British Cars.